You're very welcome to Box Office Bite Size. Film critic Andy McCarroll joins me now to preview Dr. Sleep, the sequel to The Shining. Now, it's a bit ambitious, isn't it, Andy, to kind of come close or even try and resemble Kubrick's, of course, masterpiece. But who's behind this one?
It's going to be directed by Mike Flanagan, who directed another Stephen King adaptation, Jared's Game, and also last year on Netflix, The Haunting of Hill House.
Aha.
Two things that you wouldn't think would be very easy to adapt, but he was absolutely fantastic on both. The interesting thing with this is kind of the discrepancy between the Kubrick version and the Stephen King. Now, Stephen King absolutely hated the movie version of The Shining. He called it a beautiful car with no engine. So in the book, it actually, the Overlook Hotel gets burnt down. In the film, it doesn't. So he had this kind of difficult job where he was trying to, appease Stephen King and appease the Stanley Kubrick's estate to get permission to do both, because he's very much a fan of The Shining film as opposed to Shining book. But then obviously you still have to kind of respect the Lord of Horror and Stephen King. So a bit of a tightrope act, but it seems to be that he got approval from both of them. So the script does pay homage to the Stephen King book, but this is very much going to be a sequel to the Stanley Kubrick film.
What about the shots? Because I was having a look at the trailer. Now, I love the fact, but we'll talk about that in a second, about Ewan McGregor being cast at it, but some of the shots are very similar to Kubrick's The Shining. They kind of try and mimic it a bit, don't they?
Yeah, he actually recreated the entire set. This is part of the agreement he had with the Kubrick estate. He got the original blueprints and drawn, so the entire set was recreated, the Overlook Hotel, room 237, and he's actually been posting some really good behind-the-scenes footage where he basically built a life-size trike, so members of the cast and the crew, when they were off set, could do the famous scene when they were cycling the trike through the corridors.
But Andy, is this more of a mainstream horror than The Shining ever was? It
seems to be. It's very much leaning into the kind of the pop culture references, like even
for the everyman.
Yeah, even people who haven't seen The Shining are familiar with the Jack Nicholson scene coming through the door. Here's Johnny. Red Room, so it seems to be kind of playing to that you don't need to have seen the original version. And I don't think now, especially, it's very hard to get audiences into like a real slow burn, psychological, like the original Shining, not a lot happens for basically the first hour and a half of it.
Yeah. And great film though.
It is, but I don't think if you get audiences now to sit through this, especially when you have things like The Conjuring and Annabelle making huge money, people like kind of silent jump scares. I hope it doesn't go down that route. I would like to see like a real intelligent horror, and I think based on what he done with The Haunting of Hill House, I think that's something that he will definitely lean into, as opposed to the shock and awe of a little creepy doll.
And of course the book Dr. Sleep as well. I mean, we have all the references that are there, but I mean, will fans be happy with what they see on the screen?
Well, if he's managed to get Stephen King and Stanley Kubrick's estate on the same page, I think he does know how to have that balancing act. So I would think, being such a huge fan that he is, like he's posting like little fan art that he used to do himself before he even got anywhere near this job. So I think he knows what fans of both the book and the film want. The
only thing is the book wasn't well received, so that's the problem, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why he's kind of leaned more into the Stanley Kubrick film as opposed to the book.
What about Ewan McGregor? We have to squeeze that in, because I think he's brilliant. I mean, I love him as an actor, but is he cast right for this part? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a great bit of casting.
Good, I'm glad.
Jack Nicholson's son, and there's a lovely bit in the trailer where he's knocked to the ground, and it looks like he's about to be possessed, and he has this great little twitch in his face that you're just like, for a second, you think, that there's Jack Nicholson's son, definitely.
And do you think, of course, he brings that intensity and kind of macho vibe that he needs for the role as well? He has to be terrifying too, right?
I don't think you really need that. He's more of like the victim in this. Like, he's playing Danny Torrance, the son, who was obviously traumatized in the first one. He's very much a kind of a functioning alcoholic in this. And then he's somebody who has to, find the resource and the strength to fight off this, gang of people who are trying to steal his shining or his essence, essentially. What
I like, though, I have to say, and I love you, and so I'm looking forward to that one. Andy, thank you very much for joining us in studio for this week's preview on Box Office Bite Size. We'll chat to you again soon.